day and time, black scientists, black doctors are involved in the development of the vaccine. They are involved in helping to shape the public policy, which makes it possible for this vaccination program to be administered to the American people. John Lewis talked about good trouble, fighting racism, fighting hunger, fighting inadequate health care, fighting COVID. It's a war, and you have to fight it just like you would fight any other war. I'm willing to go to jail. I'm willing to die for it. I'm willing to struggle for it because it is right. The struggle goes on.
We don't duck and dodge. Ain't no Edward Waters on my schedule. 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 Ain't no Edward Waters on my schedule.
Just saying. With that, Coach Maynard, we're going to let you have the last word in terms of Alabama A&M fans. But anything that you want to share with the viewers, any last thoughts you want to share?
Did I want to share?
Yeah.
Oh, go Bulldogs! Hey, baby, y'all tune in ESPN this week, and we're gonna try to make you proud and give you a good show, offensive, defensive, special teams, and represent the way the Bulldogs represent.
Don't worry, it's all a part of the game. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern for Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Course, lecture, dismissed.
The inaugural Boeing Red Tails Classic is personal to me. It's more than a matchup between Tuskegee University and Fort Valley State University. My beloved father, Colonel Lawrence E. Roberts, was a proud member of the Tuskegee Airmen. 922 brave pilots, also known as the Red Tails, fought in World War II. The Boeing Red Tails Classic is more than a celebration of HBCUs. It's a reminder of the Tuskegee Airmen's valor and sacrifice, the first class of black fighter pilots who trained at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama during the height of Jim Crow, fighting for America, while in many ways, America fought right back against them. This inaugural Boeing Red Tails Classic, this football game, is for them. And it's quite special that this game, which will be played at the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama, opens the 2021 college football season on Sunday, September 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. When you watch this game, please remember its larger meaning, that it's for a group who advocated for themselves while still facing prejudice and discrimination in the segregated Army. The Tuskegee Airmen story hardly gets told enough. I, proud daughter of a Tuskegee Airman, join others who champion their legacy and how they influence generations of black cultural and political leaders.
But my beats, they are hard.
All right. Hello and welcome to a live edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian Fulford here, and that's my partner in the backcourt, co-host A.D. Drew. A.D., you've talked me, you pushed me into this live world where I don't get to make up for my errors and mistakes by the power of editing. Thank you. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Well, we said we were going to go live for football season, so football season is here, so we might as well get our practice one in. Now, we're going to run this one a little bit longer than we're going to run our Sunday night shows. Normally during the season, we'll only run an hour, but we're going to give you some bonus time today, everybody.
Yesterday was the last Saturday without college football, so it's on. Starting today, it's game week. Week 0 week starts today, and college football returns this weekend. And from here on out, all the way into probably the end of middle of January, I think, something like that.
If you count pro football, we've got to mid-February now.
Yeah, with Saturday football. So as that great meme says, fellas, I hope you got the chores done. Ladies, you know where your man is. You better grab him on Wednesday, Tuesday. Because those are the only days when football is not on TV. So you better grab him on those days.
I mean, Thursday night football, Friday night, you go catch your local high school football, right. Saturday college, Sunday NFL, Monday NFL. Yeah, it's that time.
Well, let's get into it. We got a full loaded show for you today. We're going to get into talking about week 1. Well, obviously there's week 0 coming up, but we're also going to get into talking about week 1 of the college football season. And special guest coming up in the next block, our good friend, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Sports Network, also the host of Brave Talk with Charles Edmond, which you can find and listen to on our BCSN Pod Zone. And so, looking forward to talking to Charles about Alcorn State and what we can expect from the Braves, who are chomping at the bit, I'm sure, to get after North Carolina Central in the MEAC SWAC Challenge coming up on, I believe, what's that, Saturday evening, matter of fact, right, Drew?
I believe it's 7 o'clock. It's either 7 or 7:30 Eastern time, but just stick around long enough because you're going to see the promo doing this show.
Oh, you're going to see plenty. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hang out for the commercials. We got plenty of promos to remind you of the game time and everything like that. So, thank you for making sure. Hey, look, log on, my BCSN1. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also, go download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app right there on your Google and Play Store. And anytime our show or any of the other shows that appear on the Black College Sports Network, and there are a host of them, anytime those shows go live, you will get a notification. So matter of fact, I'm sure if you were paying attention, if you were part of if you downloaded the app, you knew that when the pregame show went live yesterday from what was the event where they,
it's called the Merge, when the freshman band members merge into the Sonic Boom.
Right.
I felt a little conflicted being the producer on that show, Brian.
All I heard was a lot of hate about the 100. I heard a lot of venomous talk.
That's the first time I've actually heard the number 100 in 2 days.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of talk going on there.
There was the marching. You name a number other than 100. Yeah, that's what we were called.
Yeah, we just gonna lay back in the cut like Rattlers do, and
strike,
they're gonna strike again. Exactly. So we'll let JSU. There's a lot. JSU. Look, this is their time, folks. Let's just go ahead and let them talk. We're just gonna sit back and watch, and we're gonna strike and do all the other stuff. So everybody's gonna get their shot at Jackson State like a piñata. So just lay back in the cut and wait for your turn. FAMU gets the first crack. Everybody else is gonna get a shot. So just go ahead and enjoy it when it comes your way. That's all I can say. But it'll be a fun year. So we're looking forward to that. Drew, let's kind of get going here. A lot of news and notes. And I we always in our shows, our shows a lot of time are mainstream centric. But I want to make sure we get in some volleyball talk early and make sure we give some love to volleyball, because for a lot of programs, very similar to football, they were almost, they dealt with limited seasons. Some programs did not even play. They set out just as long as some football programs. So we want to make sure that this upcoming fall, we make sure we give some attention to volleyball. It's a great sport. And so I know we've got some preseason honors that came out for the MEAC, the SWAC, the SIAC, and, I'm sure we'll get to some others a little bit later on. But Drew, let's start with the SWAC honors for this year. Obviously, the SWAC now a 12-member conference, so it's a little interesting how the breakdown or what the ADs and coaches think the preseason will shake up as this year.
All right.
You got the SWAC, right? That's
Oh, I thought I was starting off with the SIAC. Excuse me, I had the SIAC pulled up. Give me just a moment.
I thought we go. That's fine. That's fine. I thought we go with the good show prep on the live show. That's all right.
Hey, we got it. We working it. We working it.
I've got the MEAC pulled up. I do have the SIAC pulled
okay,
up.
I do have the SWAC predicted order of finish. Alabama A&M 1, Alabama State 2, Jackson State 3, Prairie View 4, Bethune 5. All of those received first place votes. What I find interesting with those top 5, Brian, A&M received 8 first place votes. Jackson State received 7 first place votes, but Jackson State was 3rd overall in the preseason ranking. So everybody's got Alabama State finishing 2, it seems like, on the preseason polls.
Yeah.
Fab and Bethune back-to-back, 5 and 6, the newcomers to the conference.
That's interesting. That's quite interesting. Go ahead, keep going. I'll have a little tidbit about that in a second.
UAPB 7, Alcorn 8, Grambling 9, Southern 10, Texas Southern 11, and Valley is 12.
Notice Southern at the bottom there at 10 got 2 first place votes. So, somebody, there's more than one. Now, again, we're going to go with the assumption that you can't vote for yourself or that you should not vote for yourself. So, I don't know that to be true, but hopefully that is the case, or that is the general rule of thumb. And so that means somebody's thinking pretty highly of Southern down there. Now, Jackson State is the program that last year, I believe, finished unbeaten. They went 11-0 last year, or I can't even say last year, it was this spring. They went 11-0. Yeah, I can't even say last year, it was this spring. They went 11-0.
Last season.
Exactly. 9-0 in the conference. So they're on an 11-game winning streak coming into the start of this year. And it's Prairie View A&M who I believe, no, it was APB that actually lost. Well, you can't really say they lost. They had to forfeit the championship game to Jackson State. And so UAPB had made it to the championship game, but due to some COVID-related issues, they lost. So it's funny, if you go to the standings from the spring, you'll see 2 teams finish their season on win streaks. That was APB and Jackson. So Jackson ended up getting the bid, and I'm sure Jackson State folks will tell you, there's no problem, we would have won that anyway. But, just saying. And so here you have the actual preseason order finish. Pine Bluff 7th behind the 2 newcomers, Jackson State 3rd. So
yeah. Speaking of Jackson State, Brian, they led all member institutions with 5 preseason selections for the first and second team, followed by Pine Bluff, team that finished right there tied with them in the standings. Grambling with 2, Southern with 2, Texas Southern with 2, Prairie View with 2, Alcorn with 1, and Bethune with 1. Find that kind of interesting that, in volleyball, the newcomers were able to get preseason honors for Player of the Year, but in football, they did not give anything to the new blood, being FAMU and Bethune. I guess each sport chooses that a little bit differently, Brian.
So you said, so wait a minute, there were some players from Bethune and FAM in the player awards.
There was one from Bethune, nobody from FAM was chosen, but one player from Bethune was chosen, that being Aaliyah Dallas. She's a middle hitter blocker, and she was a second team.
She must have had some pretty outstanding stats from 2019 and probably was just one of those things where you just couldn't leave her off. But usually the SWAC has that rule where they just take the players from the previous year or the previous season and bump them up, which, you know, hey, look, it is what it is. So makes it.
Last thing on the SWAC, preseason player of the year, Zion Smith, UAPB, preseason blocker of the year. Haley Gomez, UAPB, and preseason libero of the year is Jada Taylor from Grambling.
Nice. Let me get to the MEAC for a moment. The MEAC announced their preseason honors presented by Town Bank. Coppin State junior libero / defensive specialist Ashley Roman was selected as the preseason player of the year. And the Eagles, Coppin State, was selected as the preseason favorite to win the conference. Now, Coppin finished second last year, losing in the championship game to North Carolina A&T, who won their first ever volleyball championship last year. So this year, a lot of people, it must be, you know, probably due to some returners. Coppin, obviously, on the preseason All-MEAC team, Coppin has three young ladies on that list. Roman, they also have a young lady, and if I mess this up, I'm apologize now. Mia Javon Coleman, who's an outside hitter, and Karima Hopkins, who's a setter. And so they finished with 3. Del State had a couple of players. Howard had 1. Central had 1 as well. And Coppin, in the order of finished. Now, with the MEAC as it relates to volleyball, unlike football, there are 8 teams competing in volleyball. So, you know, they do have a split. Well, no, I don't think they have a split. I think they just all play each other. But Coppin had 8 first place votes. Howard, who had won 5 in a row, conference titles, that is, prior to last year, had 3. And everybody else got a first place vote except South Carolina State. So, yeah, go figure. I got a feeling, Drew, that some people must not be paying attention to that rule about don't vote for yourself. I'm convinced of that. Nobody has confirmed or denied that yet, but I'm just thinking that nobody listens to that rule. So let's go over to the SIAC for a moment. Drew, any comments there on the MEAC before I jump over to the SIAC?
No, you good with that? Moving over to the SIAC.
Now, hold on. We got to make note of something here. And if you caught it in the intro of our show, or maybe you didn't know, but the SIC has done a bold new rebrand. This just came out a few days ago. Matter of fact, on Friday. I love the Friday news dump. But anyway, this came out on Friday that the SIC unveiled a bold new brand. We actually had it in our promo, in our pre-show roll intro. Thank you. I couldn't figure out what it was. So you got that there. But yeah, the SIC has a new look. First off, what are your thoughts on the new look?
It's kind of fresh. You know, you have to be careful when you change iconic looks. You know, that SIAC logo has been around ever since I've been associated with the SIAC. I know they've had previous logos, but that's the one that I know. So you have to be careful when you change it, especially when you go from the navy blue that they traditionally had to more of the Carolina blue or Columbia blue.
Well, they have a nice incorporation of both of it in this new logo.
Say that again.
I said they have a nice incorporation of both of those 2 colors are still there.
Yeah, but the Columbia is like a lot more prevalent than it used to be. Columbia blue.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just like anything. Some people go like it, some people go dislike it. You get used to it.
Yeah, I always love the I don't know how you I don't know. In short, Commissioner Moore stated that when we began the effort to both re-examine the SIC brand, one of our objectives was to explore how best to cultivate and calibrate the brand in a manner that will reflect how the SIC would like to be perceived and defined in the 21st century.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like it personally. It's fresh. It's a nice fresh look. So props to the SIC on the rebrand. You get my thumbs up on that. Nice job. So let's go to the volleyball preseason honors, which were announced. And it was a middle blocker, Cassandra Fairley of Spring Hill, who collected her second SIC preseason Offensive Player of the Year. Her teammate, Taylor Fontenelle, was selected as the preseason Defensive Player of the Year. And those two young ladies for Spring Hill are part of the reason why Spring Hill is the preseason favorite in the Western Division, followed by Kentucky State, Central State, Lemoyne-Owen, Lane, Tuskegee, and Miles in the SIC. Now, over in the Eastern Division, it's Albany State coming out with the preseason ranking number 1, followed by Benedict, Clark Atlanta, Savannah State, Fort Valley, Edward Waters, and Allen. And it should be noted, Edward Waters and Allen, they are first-year provisional members of Division II, so they are not eligible for the SIC nor NCAA volleyball postseason competition. And I love the fact that the SIC has a balanced East and West in the volleyball division, Drew.
But they do not have a true balance.
Okay.
Because only 5 teams on the East side can compete for the championship versus all 7 teams on the West side who can win the championship. And those are led by Spring Hill, predicted to finish 1, Kentucky State 2, Central State 3, Lemoyne 4, Lane 5, Tuskegee 6, and Miles 7.
I just said that. You didn't hear me say that. I'm messing with you. So the fact, Drew, that 2 of those schools over in the East don't get a play, but I bet you their games will count on records, will they not?
Which is a catch-22. I'm playing a team that can't compete, but the games count. It's almost like
that could cost you a trip to the championship.
Did we see that happen to a team back in 2019, Brian?
Yes, it did. Yep.
And we know who we are talking about.
Yeah. Different sport, but yeah. So I mean, that's one of the traps and one of the catches there as it relates to that. So now as of tonight, I haven't seen any published report from the CIAA as it relates to volleyball. Have you? I don't think we have.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I haven't seen anything either.
All right. What else is in the news? So yeah, we wanted to make sure we get volleyball off the bat. What else is in the news, Drew, that you want to touch on before we go to a first break?
Caught me off guard with that one, Brian.
I got you, but look, I thought you might be.
Because the volleyball was supposed to take up the whole segment, and we 3 minutes short. So you caught me off guard.
Well, look, we're 3 minutes short. So one of the things that I can mention is the fact that, one, we did see the announcement come across, and I think the Carlos Brown Show talked on it, that the Southern has renamed their field after Coach Pete Richardson, who I believe, if I have it correct, won 5 SWAC championships and 4 Black College National Championships. I think they say, or I think I heard that he had a winning record over Eddie Robinson during his time at Southern in those Bayou Classics. So that, it well-deserved. I think Coach Richardson is one of those elite coaches, maybe not on the Mount Rushmore of HBCU coaches, but he owned a decade. I got to believe he and Southern were one of the premier teams. I would say the 90s. The 90s was Southern's year. So, much like we credit A&T and Bethune for being the top teams of the last decade, the decade before that was probably, the first part of the 2000s. You'd probably have to mix in maybe Hampton as one of the premier teams of that decade. And then I would have to say, the decade of the 90s, you'd probably have to include Southern, obviously FAMU. That's probably about it. I mean, Southern they were there almost every other year. I think they won. I think it was odd years. They won 4 Black College national titles, all on odd number years. So I think I've got that right. So, so congratulations to the Richardson family, and it's a tremendous honor. And so they'll be A.W. Mumford Stadium playing on Pete Richardson Field.
Yes.
Now, also, I saw that, and this is off of onidin.com, that the Bauman Gray Stadium's field is going to be named after Coach Bill Hayes. So the, Bill Hayes, representative of Winston-Salem State and North Carolina A&T. And so the playing surface at Bauman Gray Stadium will be named Bill Hayes Field in honor of the man who coached both schools to a combined 6 conference titles, 195 victories in his career. So that was voted on by the Winston-Salem City Council last week. So good to see our legends being recognized. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Before we go to break, Brian,
sure.
Want to get this one in. Wildmeyer, Will, Marceline,
what?
Sincere.
What?
Chimed in on Facebook.
Wait, say that again.
Wildmeyer, Will, Marceline, Sincere. That's the person's name on Facebook.
God bless.
And they said this, so do not shoot me. Flomo in the building. I'm just quoting what they said.
All right, well said. Hey, they're part of the kickoff weekend coming up this week, so we're gonna see what they're about. We're gonna see what they are about. Looking forward to seeing Florida Memorial as they take on Edward Waters University. Now, no longer can we say EWC. We got to go with
U.
E-Dub or EWU. I don't know which one sounds better. I'm still looking for what sounds better.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I'm sure
I like E-Dub better.
Yeah, but they'll probably say, no, don't call us that. Just like the Florida Memorial does not want to be known as Flomo. So let's just, that tells you the person who said Flomo, that's old school right there. Exactly. That is an old school because they don't want to be known as Flomo. We were told that explicitly last year when I think you might have dropped a Flomo reference or two, and they were like, no, we are not Flomo.
Right.
Like, yeah. So, all right. When we come back from this break, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Sports Network is joining us. We're going to talk about Alcorn State, find out if the Braves are ready to reclaim what's theirs. So that's coming up after the break. You're watching and listening to a live edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. We'll be back right after these words.
The HBCU football experience is back in Atlanta on August 28th. College Game Day, the Coca-Cola Fan Experience, the Battle of the Bands, the Cricket MEAC Swag Challenge will have it all. Visit MEACSwagChallenge.com for more information.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN SportsWrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
showtime! Get ready for the Cracker Barrel National Battle of the Bands, presented by Pepsi Zero Sugar. Sunday, August 29th, 4 o'clock, NRG Stadium in Houston, featuring the hottest HBCU marching bands: Southern University, Langston University, Tennessee State, Norfolk State, North Carolina A&T State, Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman, and Jackson State. Don't miss the battle on the field and the stands with scholarships over $500,000 in counting for our HBCUs. It's an HBCU experience you don't want to miss, with a weekend of activities with the Cracker Barrel Step and Stroll, Pepsi Zero Sugar Emerging Experience, Esports Masterclass and Gaming Tournament, and the free Pepsi Zero Sugar College and Health Fair. Tickets start at just $15. Get them right now at nationalbattleofthebands.com. It's the Cracker Barrel National Battle of the Bands. Sunday, August 29th, NRG Stadium, Houston. Gates open up at 2:30. Also sponsored by Cricket and HEB. nationalbattleofthebands.com. Get your tickets right now.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Texas Southern takes on Prairie View A&M for the Nick Gurley Traveling Trophy and the Labor Day Classic on September 4th. Tickets available online at tsusports.com/LDC tickets. Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
They can follow their dreams.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian Fulford and A.D. Drew here, and joining us right now is the voice of Alcorn State sports, the one and only, the legend, Mr. Charles Edmond. Charles, pleasure. Thanks for joining us, man, on a live show. First live guest that we've ever had, I think.
I appreciate it. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on the Black College Sports Network, to be a part of this powwow, and we are 6 days away from week 0. Looking forward to it. It's been boring at times, but now it's going to get exciting around here.
The website says 5 and some change. So I don't know. That's what the Alcorn State website says, or maybe, obviously we're under 6 days according to the nice little countdown on alcornsports.com.
Yeah, we're 5 days, and I think the game starts at 6 o'clock Central. So, yeah, we are, you might as well say, if you want to be technical, we are 5 days and change away. So that is exactly right.
Well, Charles, I definitely look forward to bumping into you in Atlanta for the BX SWAC Challenge, or the SWAC BX Challenge, as Dr. McClellan likes to say so gracefully over there. So what we see Alcorn on the field after a year and a half away from football, what are we looking for?
I think we're looking for a Braves team offensively that's going to score a bunch of points. Felix Harper, we all know what he did 2 years ago, coming in off the bench against McNeese State, almost leading us to victory in that game. Big wins over Prairie View and Alabama A&M that helped, secure the Eastern Division. I mean, Felix grew up in front of our very eyes, and he's a lefty, so you don't think of it that way. But here's a guy that's not the tallest in the world. And I talked with our quarterback Quinn Gray Jr., who played in the NFL for the Jacksonville Jaguars, by the way. He talked about how special this kid is, upstairs, mentally, physically. This team can score some points, and I think that's going to be the one thing that I'm looking at. Can this team pick up where it left off offensively? Because I think if they can score the points that we know that they can, and just looking at North Carolina Central, and I got their stuff right here in front of me, just breaking it down initially, I don't know if North Carolina Central has the weaponry to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Braves scoring the football. So if Alcorn offensively can pick up where they left off with Nico Duffy running the football, getting it to Charles Pringle, spraying it around. If they can put points on the board, I don't know if Central can match Alcorn point for point. So that's what I'm looking at, to see where this offense where this offense is, because Central lost a lot on defense. They lost a lot on the back end. They lost a lot on the defensive line. So they're I'm not going to say depleted, but they don't have the power that they had 2 years ago. So if the Braves can score some points, I don't know if Central's offense can keep up with Alcorn point for point. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that it's funny you bring that up, because that's one of the things that I was looking at in this contest, is that Central, we had grown so used to Central being a good defensive team, and I think that may have been a product of coaching and who they had in there as their coaches in that program. But yeah, even 2 years ago, they were giving up, and we're talking 2 years ago, 2019. They were giving up 27 points a game while only scoring 17. So it's, we're talking 2 years later, Coach, I believe Trey Oliver, and that was a first year for him. So now he's had almost 2 years to sort of, you've been sitting 2 years trying to figure out what to do. And I think that's an interesting angle as well. Both teams have been sitting, I believe, because I don't believe Central played in the spring, did they?
No, they did not. So both teams, it'll be almost 2 years for both teams.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. But obviously, one team, Alcorn's coming in with so many returners, and that's an amazing story. Well, I don't know. I mean, look, it is what it is, but I think that's a credit to the culture and the environment that so many key players at Alcorn return. Talk a little bit about that, and that you didn't have major guys departing in the program.
That's right. The one guy that transferred, he transferred to Louisville, a guy on the back end of the defense, Quintavious Cole. He transferred to Louisville. But other than that, and one other guy, a guy that could have been our backup quarterback, was vying to be our backup quarterback, John Russell, kid from Texas. But other than that, those are the two big pieces that we lost. But other than that, I mean, Felix Harper, LaCharles Pringle, you just look at that defense. A lot of those guys, they wanted to run it back. They wanted to come back. And I think not playing in the spring, having spring practice in terms of the spring season, I think really has given this team, a fresh perspective. They look fresh. I was at practice probably 85-90% of the time. You didn't get the sense that they were lagging or dragging. They were really excited, and not overly excited, because I talked with some of our coaches and they were concerned going into camp, this team might be too hyped up because we didn't play. I didn't get that sense from being out there just about every day. They just took it as a business-like approach. And this team is hungry, because remember now, we're not the defending champs. Alabama A&M is. We're not the defending division champs. We're in the Western Division now. You know who that is. It's UAPB. So we go from being the hunted to the hunters. So I get the sense that this team, didn't lose a lot. But, again, it's the rest versus rust factor. A lot of people saying, man, this team's going to be rusty. Well, yeah, they are. Central will be rusty too. But I do think if our offense can get it going quickly, I don't know if Richard, a quarterback who had 13 passing touchdowns 2 years ago, 2,000 yards passing, you got to respect that. I don't know if they can go point for point with Alcorn, but we'll see.
Charles, you brought up an interesting point right there. Alcorn is not the defending champion, but their title was not taken away from them on the field. It almost reminds me of Ali and Frazier. Ali was stripped of his title. Frazier won it because it was out there, and he won it fair and square. But Frazier did not take the title from Ali. So this is kind of the same thing. Alcorn had the title. A&M has the title now. A&M did not defeat Alcorn to win the title. And I'm going to take that step one further. Felix Harper was Player of the Year, did not get a chance to defend it. Aquil Glass winds up becoming Player of the Year. So what are your feelings just on that?
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Look, we didn't play. I mean, I know Braves fans, they get a little sensitive when it comes to that subject, and it's fine. It's okay. But we didn't play. We didn't play in the spring. It's unfortunate that we didn't play in the spring. So since we didn't play in the spring, someone else was going to win the title. Someone else was going to be Player of the Year. Another team was going to win the championship. Another team was going to win the division. I mean, me personally, I don't have a problem with it because we just didn't play. And it's unfortunate that it happened the way that it did, but it happened. So for me, hey, let's just get on the field come Saturday and let's see how this thing, plays out. That's the way I look at it. A&M clearly was the best team in the conference. Quill Glass, Ibrahim, you can't take anything away from that team, from that program. They're just dynamic offensively. You just kind of hate that we are in the Western Division because, if we were in the East, that Alcorn A&M game would probably be one of the games of the year in the conference. But that's not the way it happened. If we see them again, it'll be for the championship. But I don't have a problem with the accolades going to where it's going because we didn't play. I know some people might have an issue with it, but let's just step back and calm down and realize since we didn't play, you have to look at what the players and teams did in the last effort, which was in the spring, and we didn't play in the spring.
And let me add to that. I think it shows by the fact that Coach McNair has not made a big deal about that. I think that also speaks to where the players are because they get that. If Coach McNair had made a big deal about that and had talked about it on various occasions in different interviews here and there, that would be that's a thing that's being talked about in the locker room. But I have not heard that from him. I don't believe that is the sense of who he is, and it's like, okay, let's just move forward. We're moving forward. We know what we got to do. We got a job to do. We'd have to play the best, and it just so happens that this is a SWAC year where you legitimately have 3 to 4 teams that are going to be in the hunt on each side. So it doesn't matter. If we were in the East, we'd be in just as big of a dogfight as we were in the West, which you are. So that's it. I'm shamefully I'm mad that the schedule makers did not find a way to set up that Alcorn A&M game, but who knows, that it is what it is. Speaking of schedules though, Charles, and really I want to ask you about the psyche of the program and players. Obviously, when you've won the division title 6 years in a row, you've won the conference back to back, but you've never really gotten, Alcorn has not gotten their flowers, so to speak, because they've come up short in that last game. But they have been just as dominant in the past decade as the other teams that we've been praising, which is A&T, Bethune, maybe even Grambling at times. But just because of the recency of those last 2 games, Alcorn really hadn't gotten that national respect, if I can say it out, and heading out towards the Carolinas and up the East Coast. What's the psyche of when you get a sense of the program from the coaching and the coaches, the administration, athletic administration, what's the psyche like about that? The fact that, hey, we've come up short, but we should be getting our flowers just like everybody else.
I haven't heard anyone really talk about it, to be honest. I think that they know and they understand that in sports today, it's all about hoisting the really big fish. And the really big fish in the NFL is the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers could attest to that, coming up short. Back in the day, the Minnesota Vikings went to 4 Super Bowls, came up empty-handed. And they were expecting more flowers. They didn't get it because they didn't win the big game. And in HBCU football, the big game is the Celebration Bowl. And yes, we have come up short. Yes, we have. But I think that it's a Debbie Downer probably for the first 30 to 45 days after the Celebration Bowl. I remember 2 years ago, we lost that game, scoring over 40 points to A&T. I talked with our defensive coordinator, Cedric Thornton, and he said he just played that game in his mind probably 30 times in probably a 45-day period and watched the game countless times. But I think once you get into signing day, once the calendar turns into February, players are back and getting in shape, you kind of move on from it. It stings, it hurts, it's painful because that's the big fish that all HBCU football programs, especially in the SWAC and the MEAC, are trying to get, which is a Celebration Bowl. We've come up short. It's been unfortunate. It's been disappointing. But there's no pity party here, as far as that's concerned. And we're just looking forward to this upcoming season, looking forward to, winning a tough dogfight in the West and getting back to Atlanta again. Atlanta seems to be our home, And again, the mantra for us is starting in Atlanta, which we will, and hopefully we'll end it in that town come December.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Charles. My last question for you: 6 conference road games. No secret. I've personally said it would be tough and challenging for Alcorn to win their half of the division with 6 road games. So internally, is it a rallying cry, or will it be something that will become a crutch that's just too much to bear? What is the sentiment on campus about that?
Oh, it's tough. There is no question about it. When you go to Southern, when you go to Bethune, when you go to UAPB, when you go to Texas Southern, that's no picnic, to say the least. Again, I just being around the players and the coaches. When the schedule came out and we have 8 games on the road overall, 3 at home. Yeah, I was talking about, like, man, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be rough. But you know what, Fred McNair, one of Fred McNair's big, in spite of all the injuries, in spite of whatever else is going on, in spite of not playing the spring, in spite of 8 road games, we still have to proceed forward. He has a shirt that says in spite of. So that's his rallying cry, in spite of all that. So there's no crying, there's no belly aching about that. We understand, and we knew coming out of the spring that we probably were going to have a road heavy schedule anyway. So we kind of knew that. So when you look at it, I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, look at our first division game as a member of the Western Division. A Thursday night game in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, coming off the heels of a tough South Alabama game 5 days earlier. Right. That's no picnic, ladies and gentlemen. That's no picnic whatsoever. But in spite of that, Braves got to get ready to play. And that's going to be a nationally televised game. And everybody's going to be looking at that. First game as a member of the West. So there's no complaining about that either. And that's the one thing I must say, guys. These coaches do not complain. These players do not complain. Whatever's laid out in front of them, they deal with it, they go with it, and they go for it. And I don't expect that to be a problem at all. It's going to be tough. There's no doubt about it. But I think if we can start out 1-0 in the division, if we can win that Thursday night game against the UAPB, I think that'll give us a great deal of confidence as we roll forward into the season.
In spite of, I want one of those shirts, Charles. I think if you
I'll see if I can get you one.
Hey, if you get me the same size that Coach McNair, because I think I'm probably maybe about the similar size. So, not as tall, but across the shoulders. Yeah, in spite of, I love it. It sounds like a winner. So look, okay, so College game day, it'll be in the Center Park Stadium, which is that's where Georgia State plays. So it'll be an outdoor contest. Hopefully, good weather in Atlanta. College game day. You looking forward to being a college game day? Are you going to be around on the set for that, Charles?
I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to. I mean, that's gonna be a really, really big deal, because I believe college game day, going out on the road in this COVID environment, getting back out there for them, and I think it's going to be exciting. We're going to have a big tailgate. I think from what I was told from the producers, they want to see the big Braves tailgate tent in the background there. So, and we tailgate as good as anybody in the country. So I think they want to see the smoke. They want to see the burgers frying. It's going to be a heck of an environment. And I'm looking forward to game day. I'm looking forward to Lee Corso's pick at the end of the show to see who he has in that game. I think everyone's just looking forward to it. And as Jay Walker said, I interviewed him not too long ago, and he said that it should have been done a while back, but he's glad it's happening now. And so I'm glad that this is happening. And just to give Alcorn and both Central as well the attention that they deserve, I think it'll be terrific. I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, I'm hoping I see you because you should stand out, and I hope you have a sign. Somebody get Charles a sign, something creative that he can hold up. We'll see it in the background, no doubt. If you're standing anywhere back there, Charles, we'll see it. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then my other hope is that when Migos performs, I'm hoping that Lee is dancing with Migos. I'm betting. I am betting that if Migos does Walk It Like I Talk It, I'm telling you now, Lee will be dancing. Mark it here. Take it to the bank. Plus 500 on that one. Lee will be dancing with Migos. So I know it'll happen. But I'm looking forward to a great production, and then a great game. I'm looking forward to seeing what Alcorn does. So, again, Charles, tell them where they can find you and all the plugs and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm on social media, Facebook and Twitter. My Facebook page is Charles Edmond. That's my name on Facebook, and on Twitter, Tall Man Radio is my Twitter handle. I want to give a shout out to a couple of people that's helped make this possible for me, especially on the social media front. A guy that does the sidelines for radio, Cedric Tillman. He's the one that also introduced me to social media. He's also the one that helped set up my Facebook and Twitter page. Because to be honest, guys, 7-8 years ago, I was scared of social media. I was terrified of it. Wow. And over time, I'll never forget, we were coming back from Montgomery, Alabama, driving back, and he kind of convinced me, like, man, you got to get on social media, man. That's just the way to go. And I'm like, and while we were in the car, he actually set up my Facebook and Twitter pages, and off we went, and it's been great since. So he's also going to be producing the Fred McNair show stream as well tomorrow. So that's on Monday. So it's going to be fun there. So my social media platform, Charles Edmond on Facebook, on Twitter, Tall Man Radio, and I'm having a lot of fun with social media, meeting people I hadn't seen in forever, and it's just been a great thing, and I appreciate the support.
Yeah, and so what time again is that show? The Fred McNair show again is what time?
The Fred McNair show will be 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. It will be produced in our radio studio. It'll be streamed. People can call in, people can tweet questions, and people can text questions. Just talking Braves football. I've got my depth chart for the game, and Fred McNair will give us the starters, offense and defense. We're going to have some changes on special teams. We got a new kicker. It's going to be 2 or 3 kickers we'll be implementing during the course of the season, something we hadn't had in years past. We only had one guy doing the kicking over the last 3 years. That's going to change starting Saturday. So we'll really do a deep dive into that. I got an interview with Coach Oliver. We'll get his perspective on Alcorn, and we'll get Fred McNair's perspective on North Carolina Central. So we'll kind of bounce one off the other and see what we come up with. We're going to have a lot of fun with it.
I love coaches shows. I don't know. I feel like that's the one time when you don't get coach speak. It's like you get them kind of relaxed. And I mean, the fan interaction with good questions. I love coaches shows. So I'm looking forward to it. And again, make sure you're tuned in. Black College Sports Network I think we're broadcasting that. I think we are. But also you can find Charles Brave Talk on the BCSN Pod Zone. So anytime that if you happen to miss it, I know you'll be able to catch it there as well. So be looking out for that. Again, at Tallman Radio on Twitter. Make sure you follow Charles Edmond. And good luck to the Braves. We're going to be tuned in. And hopefully you guys have a good game, good weekend.
Well, I appreciate it. Appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. And let's have some fun in Atlanta.
Exactly. Let's have some fun in Atlanta. All right. Looking forward to it. All right. When we come back in the next break, we're going to talk a little bit about more of the matchups from week 0, get into some of the hype games of week 1, games that have got our attention. So we'll talk a little bit about that and more coming up after this break. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap with Bryan and A.D. We'll be back right after these words.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
This is Carlos Brown, letting you know that we're on the move. You can now catch the Carlos Brown Show beginning this July on the Black College Sports Network each and every Saturday from 11 to 1 Eastern Time. That's 10 to 12 Central Time. Same time, new place. on Facebook at the Coles Brown Show and Black College Sports Network, online at www.mybcsn.net, and on the BCSN app, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
Football bands and one of the best fan experiences in the country. The Cricket BX SWAC Challenge kickoff returns to Atlanta on August 28th along with special guests, College Game Day. Then Alcorn State takes on North Carolina Central with conference bragging rights on the line. Center Park Stadium is the place to be on August 28th. Come tailgate all day before enjoying a primetime matchup on the gridiron. You don't want to miss this. Check out MEACSWACChallenge.com for more information.
Let's get back to strolling instead of scrolling. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit GetVaccineAnswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your fam.
Yes, that sound means it's time once again for the 36th annual Labor Day Classic. Featuring the Prairie View A&M Panthers versus your Texas Southern Tigers for the Battle of the Lone Star State on Saturday, September 4th. Kickoff, 7 p.m. at BBVA Stadium. Don't forget the halftime Battle of the Bands as the TSU Ocean of Soul take on the PVA MU Marching Storm. Tickets are available online at www.tsusports.com/LDC tickets. Let's bring the Knicks Durley Traveling Trophy back to its rightful home.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. Make sure you are following us everywhere on social media. You can see up there at the top at MyBCSN1. Download that Jericho Broadcast Networks app if you would. Go search MyJBN or MyBCSN on your Google or Apple Play Store. Like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this show. Like and subscribe, and then you know what? Go share it with a friend or two, please. Please, pretty please. Thank you. All right, Drew. Week 0. We're gonna go short segment here before we go to the top of the hour. Short segment for week 0, and then we'll come back on the other half and talk about week 1. So actually, there are 3 games that are part of week 0 for HBCUs. And they go in sort of kickoff order. We've got 2 p.m. Eastern between Central State and Kentucky State. That game being played in Columbus, Ohio at Ohio Stadium, the Classic for Columbus. Then we also now we'll talk about that in a second because that's also an SIAC matchup, and so those 2 teams do play.
Yeah, but that's a non-conference conference game.
Yeah, and so then they play later in the season. So anyway, we'll talk about that in a moment. Then we've got at 4:00 the kickoff between Edward Waters and Florida Memorial, the first football game in the brand new community field and stadium on the campus of Edward Waters University in Jacksonville, the Big Cat Classic. So here you got Florida Memorial, which they tried to have a season in the fall of 2020. They kind of played a couple of games. So I guess we can say, I don't know, do we say that was the official rebirth, or are we saying this is the rebirth? I don't know. What do you?
I guess we could kind of consider that just like spring was for everybody else. It was just training.
It happened.
Extra
right.
reps.
It happened. It happened, right. It happened, but this is a full season coming up for Florida Memorial, a true full season, Lord willing. Everything, no issues happen. So this will be, and then of course, Edward Waters, which now is Division II, Florida Memorial NAIA, which is where Edward Waters was previously. And so that'll be an interesting matchup as Florida Memorial travels up 95 north to go play in Jacksonville. And then, of course, at 7 p.m. in Center Park Stadium in downtown Atlanta, the MEAC SWAC Challenge, 7 p.m. on ESPN, the big channel, the big network, watching Alcorn and Central. All right, Drew, most intriguing game of week 0.
I will rank these in order. Probably number 1 would be the MEAC SWAC Challenge for obvious reasons. You've got 2 teams who've been off. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong, all these teams that are playing Saturday, except for Grambling, have been off for 2 years, correct?
No, because Edward Waters played in the spring, Florida Memorial played in the fall.
Okay.
So yeah.
But I think the MEAC SWAC Challenge is the most intriguing game, just for the fact that these teams have been off, and will Alcorn be the Alcorn we know? And Alcorn scored a lot of points, but Alcorn also used to give up a lot of points too. So let's see where they are defensively this year. That's number 1. Number 2, Kentucky State, Central State. Will Kentucky State continue to run the type of offense that they ran in 2019, or will they come with something that's more modern and conventional as of today's game? Because nobody runs the option. Like Charles Bishop said, they're still running the option on Grambling from 2019. And somebody has to finish number 3. Edward Waters and Florida Memorial. I would love to see the new stadium down there in Jacksonville and see the work that they've done, because you and I both know what that plot of land looked like 3 years ago. So that intrigues me about that game. New coach at Edward Waters, but also Coach Tim Ice Harris having a full offseason, and considering everything that Florida Memorial went through last year, to see how well they respond to it this year.
I have a completely different order. My number 1 game. Now, what is your ranking based on? Your order is based on what?
Just personal intrigue. It's just personal gut. If I had to spend $25 to go see one of these games, which one would I go see first? And that's how I did it.
All right, that's good. So for me, of interest, Edward Waters Florida Memorial is the number 1 interest game for me. I think because of that fact that you have a new stadium, new field for Edward Waters, Florida Memorial, a lot of questions coming off of their previous year. I think this is an interesting matchup. 2 teams that, yes, even though Edward Waters is D2, they're probably very well. We'll find out. Are they similar, or is there a separation factor? Because I think Florida Memorial had quite a few. They probably have about 60-some guys, 60 or 70 guys in that program from last I heard, and that was a year ago. So I don't know, but I think that there's an opportunity there that is the more intriguing game. I expect Alcorn to beat the brakes off of Central. I think they will, whatever. I'm waiting to see what the line is on that. I think Alcorn by at least 2 touchdowns. I'm thinking take the first half over. I'm just telling you, I think Alcorn just runs roughshod over Central in that contest. And then Kentucky State, Central State would be my number 3. I'd be more interested to see how many people fill up that Ohio Stadium, that horseshoe, because that's where they're playing. They're playing in the horseshoe where Ohio State plays. So I'll be curious to see what the community support is for that contest between Central State and Kentucky State. So yeah, a little bit different order, 1, 2, 3 for you and I, but hey, at least we got some games to watch. As we find out more information in terms of where these games will be streamed and broadcast, we'll make sure to share that with you. All right. At the top of the hour, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're getting to week 1. We're going to talk about some of the matchups that are just less than 2 weeks away. In 2 weeks, the big week 1 for most everybody. We're going to break down our top HBCU versus HBCU games, as well as our top HBCU versus HWCU, or as some of you might know as PWIs. We'll break down those top 5 games as well. So more to talk about when we come back for the second hour of the Sports Wrap with Bryan and A.D. We'll be back right after these words.
Can I get the now bar, please? $1. Have a good one. Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure. $1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
It's showtime! Get ready for Cracker Barrel National Battle of the Bands! Presented by Pepsi Zero Sugar. Sunday, August 29th, 4 o'clock, NRG Stadium in Houston. Featuring the hottest HBCU marching bands. Southern University, Langston University, Tennessee State, Norfolk State, North Carolina A&T State, Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman, and Jackson State. Don't miss the battle on the field and the stands with scholarships. Over $500,000 in counting for our HBCUs. It's an HBCU experience you don't want to miss. With a weekend of activities with the Cracker Barrel Step Stroll, Pepsi Zero Sugar Immersion Experience, Esports Masterclass and Gaming Tournament, and the free Pepsi Zero Sugar College and Health Fair. Tickets start at just $15. Get them right now at nationalbattleofthebands.com. It's the Cracker Barrel National Battle of the Bands. Sunday, August 29th, NRG Stadium, Houston. Gates open up at 2:30. Also sponsored by Cricket and HEB. nationalbattleofthebands.com. Get your tickets right now.
It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the pregame.
The HBCU football experience is back in Atlanta on August 28th. College Game Day, the Coca-Cola fan experience, the Battle of the Bands, the Cricket MEAC Swag Challenge will have it all. Visit MEACSwagChallenge.com for more information.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN SportsWrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time. All right, welcome to hour number 2 of the BCSN Sports Wrap. Brian Fulford and A.D. Drew here, doing a live version. Now that we can officially say there are no more Saturdays without football, we decided to come out and do a live show because I think that's what we're going to start doing here coming forward every Sunday.
Yeah, that means there's no more Sundays for us, Brian.
Yeah, see, this means that
except we got one Sunday.
Huh?
We won't want one the Sunday of Labor Day because we'll be at games on that particular day.
Exactly. We'll be at games. Yeah, exactly. I'll be in Miami Gardens. You will be in Montgomery. Alabama. Yeah. So we thought, look, we're going live and it'll be interesting because I know obviously on Sunday mornings, you'll get a chance to get the first reaction with Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And then we'll be able to talk and come back later in the evening and kind of, after you've kind of had a chance to really wake up and breathe, kind of tune in and talk about some of the games, maybe a little more in depth, maybe just some different viewpoints and angles, things that we were able to digest. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this works out. So please make sure to like, subscribe, share the show, let your friends know what we're over here doing. So let's we want to start. We talked about week 0 earlier. Let's kind of get into talking about some of the matchups in week 1, because those are less than 2 weeks away. So a week from Saturday, that's when the first game, a week from Thursday, because there are a host of games that are playing on September 2nd, which you've got some Division II schools, Lincoln, Albany State, Shaw, Shawan. You've got Texas College starting their season. Mississippi Valley State is even starting their season on the road against Murray State. So those are all Thursday night matchups. But we're going to break down some of the more hype games, the games that we're excited about. So no offense if your team didn't make this list. We're going to do a top 5 because that's what we do. We do top 5s. Everything we do, top 5s. So we got some matchups that didn't make the top 5, and this was much debated, but we got to mention these games anyway. We've got a game matchup that's kicking off at 4 o'clock Eastern in Dover, Delaware, between Bowie State and Delaware State. Division II versus D1. Now, what's interesting about this, a couple points to remember or think about here in this game. Bowie State has not lost a regular season game in 16 games. They are on a 16-game regular season streak. That includes conference championship games, which count as regular season titles. You know, last year they finished 11-0, lost in the first round of the playoffs as their only loss of the season. So they are on a 16-game regular season streak. The last time that they actually lost a regular season contest, October 6th, 2018, against Shawan, that was by a score of 42-23. The last time they lost to an HBCU, notice I said an HBCU.
Wait a minute, you mean Shawan is not an HBCU, even though they're in the CIAA?
No,
okay.
You're correct. Yeah, no, just in case people didn't know that. So the last HBCU loss was October 15th of 2017 to Virginia State, 47-35. All right, so keep in mind, they have not lost to an HBCU since 2017. And then for Bowie State, the last non-conference loss came August 30th of 2018, the first week of the season of the 2018 season. They lost to Wagner College 40-23. So now, Drew, this game against Del State, which is going to be on ESPN3 at ESPN Plus. No real attraction, but there's a lot of things at stake in that ball game.
Yes. Definitely. Bowie, obviously, Delaware State has twice as many scholarships as Bowie State, which is always the intrigue when Division IIs play FCS teams. But Delaware State picked to finish at the bottom of the MEAC. You know, Bowie State is one of these teams that people are talking about potentially moving up to Division I and the MEAC, especially considering the money that they receive from the state of Maryland. So here's a measuring stick. Can Bowie compete at this level with the limited number of scholarships they have now? So if you give them the same amount of scholarships, what would that put Bowie at? That's the intrigue of this game.
And Bowie is the ranked team. Ranked number 18th in the AFCA Division II polls. They are the ranked team coming into this contest. So you take that for what it's worth. D2 versus D1. And Bowie's getting a check. So, hey, what do you know? So Del State, watch out. I know it's the
Give me your money and take this L.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Hall of Fame for Champions Weekend up in Delaware State. Watch out. Another game that didn't make our list, another D2 versus D1 matchup. You've got Virginia Union at Hampton. Classic old school CIAA rivalry. The last time these two teams got together in 2019, I remember that big running back from Virginia Union just running all over Hampton. So I can't think of his name. His name just slips my mind right now. Shame on me. But Virginia Union got the win. It'll be interesting to see how this classic plays out. And then another HBCU D2 versus D1 matchup that did not make our top 5. How about the Labor Day Classic, Miles at Alabama State? Scary game for Alabama State, in my opinion, because Miles, the 2-time SIC champions, recruiting rights and bragging rights will be on the line. We already know that Alabama State has played tough games or had to deal with Tuskegee. Well, now you got to deal with Miles. Drew, that's in your neck of the woods. What is this game like for Albany State and Miles?
That would be Alabama State.
I'm sorry, Alabama State. Sorry, yeah.
It's almost as hype as the Tuskegee Alabama State game is. I mean, you've got it's for recruiting within the state of Alabama, and let's be real. Coach Donahue Ely, there's some grumblings going on around Alabama State about Donahue Ely. Is this game a potential audition for Coach Reginald Ruffin, who has done a tremendous job at Miles? Sooner or later, somebody's going to come knocking on their purple and gold door at Miles and say, "Come wear our colors." Is this an audition? I'm just saying.
A.D. Drew, ladies and gentlemen, at BCSN Drew. That's the guy who, wow, just come out and just hit everybody with a chair on the back of the head. There you go. I love it, Drew. I love you. Not scared to drop a hot take at all. All right, let's get to our top 5. Our top 5 hype matchups for the week. Week 1, we're going to start with number 5, that Labor Day Classic in Houston, in H-Town, between Texas Southern and Prairie View in BBVA Stadium. That's an 8 p.m., 7 Central kickoff. Number 4 on our list is actually the Black College Hall of Fame, the Black College Hall of Fame Classic, which is on a Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern between Grambling and Tennessee State. That'll be on ESPN Plus, 4 o'clock. Obviously, 2 teams, 2 historic programs. And when it comes to NFL players that have gone into or that have been drafted or played from these 2 universities, I think these are 2 of the top 3, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 2 of the top 4. And then, of course, what's the record about championships, Drew? HBCU championships.
Tennessee State has, I believe, 16, and Grambling has either 13 or 14, somewhere up in there. Right. They're both of them in the top 3.
All right, if you got that wrong, you're gonna hear from people about that one. So yeah, number 3.
I do know Tennessee State is number 1 overall.
Okay, all right. Number 3 on the most hype games for that weekend is the last game of the weekend, the Red Tails Classic in Montgomery in the Crampton Bowl on ESPNU, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central kickoff. Fort Valley State versus Tuskegee. We will be at that game. Drew, you'll be at that game, so that'll be a good game. I love the promo by Robin Roberts, by the way. I didn't know about her connection to the Tuskegee Airmen, so I love that promo.
I guess you have to be, when you live in a town like Tuskegee, anybody who ever laid roots in the town of Tuskegee, such as Keenan Ivory Wayans was a student at Tuskegee at one point in time. Bet you didn't know that one either.
I definitely did not know that. Definitely did not know that. Now, number 2 is a game which I think is one of the I feel like nobody's talking about this game, but it's Alabama A&M hosting South Carolina State. You've got the preseason predicted number 1 in the MEAC versus preseason number 1 in the SWAC. You're talking about the MEAC SWAC challenge. I know is against 2 different teams the week before, but when you talk about you're having the best from one conference against one of the best from the other, this is a heck of a contest, and it's got the little added bit of juice, Drew, that they played in the spring. A lot of talking went on in that game, and the Bulldogs from A&M ended up winning that game, and they did most of the talking on the road. So let's see what South Carolina State does with sort of their full complement, their full spring, their full roster. Hopefully, that'll be a 7:00 Eastern kickoff, 6 Central. The Lewis Cruz Classic in Huntsville, Alabama. That should be a great contest. Anything you want to add on that one?
Well, this is a follow-up to the BAC SWAC challenge. You know, South Carolina State is considered to be the class of the BAC with FAMU, Bethune, and North Carolina A&T gone. So how they perform in this game will give people a good measuring stick on how strong the BAC is or can be, and whether the BAC deserves "quote unquote" respect with some of the top dogs leaving the BAC this year.
I think South Carolina State has, I've said it before, has the toughest non-conference schedule in HBCU football, and they have the kind of schedule where they play 3 SWAC schools. Yeah, I think 3 or 4. 3. They play both of the A&Ms, Alabama and Florida, Bethune, and somebody else I'm thinking. No, then they play A&T. So I mean, what a non-conference schedule for South Carolina State. And I'm just saying, watch out for South Carolina State. That's all I'm gonna tell you. We'll just keep an eye on how they play. They get a few wins under their belt. Dangerous team. So that just leaves what? Our most hyped game?
Yes.
I think without a doubt, FAMU versus Jackson State. I've said it. I said it with on the show before with Neely. I think this is going to be a game where we're going to look back in 4 years and count the number of pros that played in this contest, especially with, you know, the recent transfers that Florida A&M got, the transfers we know about. I think each team has at least a half dozen potential players that could be playing on Sunday. And when we come back and look at this game, we're going to say, wow, this was talent. There was a lot of talent on the field to open up the 2021 season. This is going to be a great contest. I have no words other than great, exciting. Can't wait. That's all I can say, Drew.
I mean, has anybody talked about any other game when it comes to HBCU football besides this matchup between FAMU and Jackson State?
No, and that's why I said the A&M South Carolina State game is probably as big on any other week, probably is as big a matchup as you can get, but it's being completely overshadowed by the hype of just FAMU and Jackson State, you know. And I think the A&M South Carolina State game is just as big a contest as that game in terms of what it could mean for the season, you know. But it doesn't mean it's not a conference game like this game. It's not a conference division game. You know, somebody's in a hole with a loss. So obviously this FAMU Jackson State game means more. So you have that. And
I think that's the one other thing. 2 of these games are actual division games that we have on this list, Brian. Number 1 and number 5 being the FAMU Jackson State game and the Texas Southern game, Prairie View A&M game. That Texas Southern Prairie View A&M game, for 2 teams that a lot of people are expecting to finish at the bottom of the SWAC West, well, the winner gets a leg up and gets a chance to possibly be in position to steal some games later on during the season. So that's why that game really, really intrigues me also, in addition, of course, to FAMU Jackson State, just the hype of that game in general.
Right. Let's before we hit the break, let's quickly just kind of mention some of those HBCU versus HWCU games. Now, these are those what we might call paycheck games. You know, these are, and I don't know, it might not necessarily be paycheck games, because we're usually, when you think paychecks, you're talking the FCS playing one of the Power Fives. Yeah. Not necessarily the case, but these are games that I think the HBCU playing has an opportunity to win this ball game. And so I think for some conferences, the SWAC, winning these games against other FCS schools, maybe catching a win over an FBS school, that also improves the ranking. So if we want to see a SWAC school in the top 25 national ranking, you got to beat some of these teams out here. So let's go through this list quickly, Drew. We're starting 5-1.
Yes.
All right, 5-1. Now we've got Lenoir-Rhyne versus Virginia State. Now, what's interesting about this contest, Lenoir-Rhyne is ranked 6th in the nation preseason poll. Virginia State, though, this is one of those games that kind of plays into your regional rankings as it relates to later in the year, right?
Correct.
And it just so happens that at the end of the 2019 season, after Virginia State stole a win from Virginia Union, they missed out on getting to the playoffs. We might call it controversially, but it kind of played against them somehow, where they missed out on a chance to play because of the regional rankings. Well, if Virginia State is able to come out, get a win, how about being competitive? Stay within maybe a touchdown of Lenoir-Rhyne, again, nationally ranked number 6. That could go a long way for Virginia State, right?
Yeah.
And it's a home game. It's a home game for Virginia State.
Right. And what you have to remember, going back to that 2019 season, in the top 10 at that point in time, going into the last week, the CIAA had 4 teams in the top 10. Bowie State was at number 3. They were a solid end. The only question is, were they going to remain high enough to get a home game? Virginia State was 6.
Yeah.
Virginia Union was 9, and Fayetteville was 10 going into the last week of the season. So that loss, and then them not playing, that even though they won, them not playing the following week allowed them to drop from 6 to at least number 7. And somebody was able to get in either as a preferred qualifier or just bumped them up. And I believe it was a team with a W, Wingate or something like that. That bumped them, but somebody bumped them from 6 to 7. Right. So it was a combination of things, but they thought they win. This game will go a long way into ensuring that they don't get left out of the dance this year.
6 p.m. kickoff at Rogers Stadium, Virginia State. Make sure you show up for that one. Number 4, how about this? The debut of Jason Rollins, Southern at Troy, Alabama. That's a 7 p.m. Eastern. No, correction. All right. That's nope. Okay. Norfolk State versus Toledo. That's number 4. My list that I wrote down is wrong. We don't even have that Southern Troy game. But anyway, Norfolk State, Toledo. So that game is in Toledo, Ohio, 7 p.m. Eastern. Debut of Dawson Odoms and Norfolk State. And I think the reason we spotlighted this game, Toledo, MAC school, middle of the road MAC program, very beatable. If Norfolk State, which look, we all we hear about is Norfolk State and their veterans, the veteran ball club. Dawson Odoms coming in, new coach. If that team can play a solid, mistake-free brand of football, they might very well be able to pull up an upset over Toledo. I don't know. What do you got? You got personal interest in this game, though, right, Drew?
Yeah, I got a nephew who plays for Toledo, so I'll be watching that one out the corner of my eye while I'm watching some other games to see how my nephew does in that game. Don't know if he's going to actually be getting time in that game because he's a redshirt freshman, but I'm definitely going to be eyeing that game to see if he gets in and how he does on a personal level in that game against one of our HBCUs.
All right, number 3. This is one I'm telling you now. Pay attention to the line. Pay attention to the numbers. If Bethune-Cookman is a dog, I'm telling you now, Bethune-Cookman is a live dog on the road at El Paso, Texas, against UTEP. That is a 9 p.m. Eastern. 8 Central game on ESPN3. UTEP was one of the worst programs in college football in 2019. They lost 11 in a row to end that season. They lost to some pretty bad FCS programs in 2019. They played 2 games in 2020. They won those games. They weren't big wins. They were like under 4-point wins against average competition. I'm telling you now, Bethune-Cookman going into this ball game, live dog. Just remember what I told you. Live dog going out to El Paso, Texas. Number 2, the Aggies taking on Furman. North Carolina A&T, they've got a strong history over the last 3 seasons of beating, FCS and even a couple of FBS programs. They need to stick with that. They're going on the road to Greenville, South Carolina, taking on Furman, who's part of the Southland Conference, I believe. This A&T moved to the Big South to make a statement. They moved to the Big South to sort of give themselves a leg up in these playoff rankings when you start to see what happens. Now they need to go out on the road, beat Furman, part of a well-respected conference over there in the Southland. And that'll be a big game for A&T to open the season on the road. A&T is one of those spotlight teams, ranked number 25, I believe, in a lot of polls nationally. And the number one most hyped game, HBCU versus HWCU. How about Savannah State versus Valdosta State? Wow. Talk about Valdosta State not shy about playing anybody, not shy about playing any HBCU. They've got 3 of them to start the season, if I'm not mistaken. But how about Savannah State? One of the favorites to be in the SIC championship game. Big recruiting base right there in Southern Georgia. I'm sure Southern Georgia, Northern Florida, up in the Carolinas. If Savannah State can pull off a win, and I believe they're at home too, if I'm not mistaken, Drew, right? Is Savannah State at home?
I don't remember whether they're at home or not in that game.
I'm looking now. No, technically, okay, so Savannah State travels over to Valdosta State, but that's not a far ride from Savannah to Valdosta, right? It's about a 3-hour ride. All right. Well, look, Savannah State I've heard them talk about how great their alumni base is. They should be packing that whole visitor side at Valdosta State Stadium. That's a 7:00 kickoff. That's going to be a good game. Good game. Valdosta State, one of those. This could be another one of those playoff preview games.
Yeah,
right?
This is a region game also, because both Savannah State and Valdosta State are in the same region, which ironically is the same region that Lenoir-Rhyne and Virginia State are in. So those 2 matchups will have a lot of playoff implications down the line in November.
All right. We've got to catch up on some breaks. And look, we don't do top 5 polls, preseason polls, national polls, but we do our own personal poll. Drew and I, we do our own personal. So we're going to share our personal top 10 preseason poll. It's our personal, not the BCSN, not the SportsWrap. This is Bryan and A.D.'s preseason top 10 polls coming up in the next segment. So you got to make sure to come back and let us know if you agree or disagree with us. We'll be back right after these words. You're watching a BCSN SportsWrap with Bryan and A.D. We'll be back in just a moment.
The inaugural Boeing Red Tails Classic is personal to me. It's more than a matchup between Tuskegee University and Fort Valley State University. My beloved father, Colonel Lawrence E. Roberts, was a proud member of the Tuskegee Airmen. 922 brave pilots, also known as the Red Tails, fought in World War II. The Boeing Red Tails Classic is more than a celebration of HBCUs. It's a reminder of the Tuskegee Airmen's valor and sacrifice, the first class of black fighter pilots who trained at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama during the height of Jim Crow, fighting for America, while in many ways America fought right back against them. This inaugural Boeing Red Tails Classic, this football game, is for them. And it's quite special that this game, which will be played at the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama, opens the 2021 college football season on Sunday, September 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. When you watch this game, please remember its larger meaning, that it's for a group who advocated for themselves while still facing prejudice and discrimination in the segregated Army. The Tuskegee Airmen story hardly gets told enough. I, proud daughter of a Tuskegee Airman, join others who champion their legacy and how they influence generations of Black cultural and political leaders.
Both of my great-grandfathers have been a part of that study. My roots in environmental health come from my great-grandfathers. They were sharecroppers, and then later they were able to own land for their family for generations to come. My ancestors' connection to the land has given me a strong care for our environment and how that environment influences human health. I am a fierce advocate for equitable treatment for all. The ways in which COVID-19 ravaged Black communities showed that we have underlying vulnerabilities when something like a pandemic hits. The path from tragedy to triumph travels along the path of learning.
Texas Southern takes on Prairie View A&M for the Nick Durley Traveling Trophy and the Labor Day Classic on September 4th. Tickets available online at tsusports.com/LBC tickets.
Let's get back to getting ticks instead of watching flicks. Before we can safely get out there, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your crew.
Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. live on a Sunday after the last Saturday with no football. Beautiful, beautiful thing. Got to thank again Charles Edmond for joining us in the first hour. That podcast will be up a little bit later tonight. Make sure if you look, however you're listening and streaming to us, make sure you're a part of the BCSN Pod Zone. All of the shows that are part of the Black College Sports Network are on the Pod Zone. We're talking our show. We're talking Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, the Carlos Brown Show, the pregame show, Knights of the Round Table, which are starting back again. When, Drew?
Tomorrow. In which we will reveal the HBCU Pro Sports Media Association's top 10 poll, both major and mid-major.
Nice. Also, you can catch the ONG Strike Zone, which is a show dedicated to Florida A&M University athletics. Brave Talk with Charles Edmond covering Alcorn State. So whether it's schools or just HBCU sports in general, you can catch it all on the BCSN Pod Zone. BJ Jones and the BJ Jones Show will be joining us pretty soon. And we might even have a few other surprises and some other shows, as more people, want to come be a part of what we're doing. Before we get into our personal preseason top 10, obviously a little bit different than I thought it was interesting to look at the what's going to make the SWAC so interesting this year. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. By my count, Drew, there are 9 returning quarterbacks of the 12 schools. Now, I'm basing this either on returning from the spring or in the case of Alcorn 2019. So this won't be a year primarily for the SWAC where you got a lot of new faces. And I think that's going to add to the level of competition, the heightened competition that I think we're going to see. And I think it's going to separate some people and make for some pretty exciting games. But of the 9, tell me what you agree, if you agree or disagree with my top 9 from, what do you like? You want me to go from 1 to 9 or 9 to 1?
Let's go 9 to 1.
9 to 1. I've got now Texas Southern played a redshirt freshman, Jalen Brown. Actually, they had he played the last game of the year. Texas Southern only played about 2 or 3 games. last year. He played the last game of the year, I believe. 21 of 37 on 281 and a touchdown and an INT. He's the most experienced QB. The other QBs that played in the spring, I don't believe are still on the roster. So he may be the incumbent, but it's interesting to see there. Number 8, Tarzan Connolly from Prairie View at number 8. It's interesting. He's a young man, started the last game of the spring against UAPB, where he threw up 341 with 3 touchdowns, but had 3 INTs. He split time in the other 2 games with a young man who's no longer in the program. And actually, take it back a couple of years, he played 7 games in 2019 as the number 2 guy behind Jalen Morton. So the most experienced guy at Prairie View is Connolly. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets the nod. Grambling, number 7, Elijah Walker, the redshirt junior, was originally a Louisiana Tech transfer. He took over after Jeremy Hickbottom left. I just remember Coach Fobbs speaking to Charles Edmond at the SWAC Media Day, talking about how he really liked Walker and his command of the huddle and things. And so I think Grambling might have their quarterback for the next season or two, and Elijah Walker. I've got him at number 7. Number 6, Jelani Eason, who's a grad student now from Mississippi Valley State. He came over from Portland State in the spring, or actually a year ago, played in the spring, 3 games under his belt. Didn't look too bad. And I think your optimism, Drew, of Mississippi Valley State has a lot to do probably with Jelani Eason at number 6. All right, here's the top 5. At 5, redshirt sophomore Ryan Nettles of Alabama State. He was the SWAC freshman of the year in the spring. I think there is a lot to be optimistic about for Alabama State. Number 4, I've got Ladarius Skelton at Southern, the 2-time Bayou Classic MVP. Even though there's a lot of talk about Southern possibly playing a couple of quarterbacks, I think Skelton is the guy. If Skelton is right and Skelton is playing well, I think Southern will roll, and they're going to be difficult for people. Number 3, I go Skylar Perry, UAPB. Threw 4 touchdowns in 2 games, helped lead UAPB to a SWAC West division title and to the championship game. Look forward to see. We've seen nothing but good things from Perry, so I expect that to continue. Number 2, I got to go. This is tough, but I got to go Harper at number 2. Felix Harper at 2, and that means I got Quill Glass at 1. Agree, disagree? Where you got?
Hit the wrong button there. Give me that 5-1. Give me that 5-1 again.
So 5, I've got Ryan Nettles from Alabama State. 4, Ladarius Skelton at Southern. 3, Skylar Perry. 2, Felix Harper. 1, Quill Glass.
You might make an argument of switching 4 and 5 because Nettles, especially with the receivers that he had at Alabama State, this spring, did good. He came out there. He's an older quarterback. He's not an 18, 19-year-old quarterback like you get a lot of these guys being.
He's a redshirt sophomore, so he's got 3 years of college under his belt, right?
Right, but he didn't go straight to school, if I remember his story correctly. He's got a year or 2 off.
Oh, wow. Okay, didn't know that.
Yes, if I remember his story correctly. So he's got a level of maturity that some of the other quarterbacks may not have. No knock against the other quarterbacks. So that would be the only argument I would have. You could possibly switch 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, almost splitting hairs. But Glass is definitely the class of the SWAC when it comes to quarterbacks. He may be the best quarterback in the SWAC since Steve McNair, and right now probably is slightly ahead of Tavares Jackson was.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd put him over Tavares Jackson.
He as he's trending, he could wind up ahead of Tavares Jackson in SWAC, recent SWAC lore. we'll say recent SWAC lore.
Okay, interesting. I think Glass is the pro prospect at 6'5", 215. But look, Harper, I tell you what, smaller QBs are doing now in the NFL opens the door for Harper. I mean, now is a good time for Felix Harper because there are smaller guys having success. So, I think
let's see what his accuracy is this year. That's going to be the determining factor with Harper.
Right. So again, and then hey, look, so the only three schools that don't have a returning starter, Jackson State, who's going to run with Shedeur Sanders, Bethune-Cookman, who's running with Shannon Patrick, who Shannon Patrick, who played the dual role back with UAPB in the previous 2018, 2019. So he was a starter for UAPB. Don't sleep on the fact that Bethune-Cookman has a SWAC quarterback who is familiar with people. That is important. And then, of course, FAMU, most likely we think it'll be Rashawn McKay, most likely. But it still remains to be seen. Okay. So, Drew, let's go with our personal top 10. Personal top 10 under D1. I'm not ashamed to say this is my, in lieu of tomorrow's debut, this is my votes. And I'm not ashamed to say my votes that went into that HBCU Pro Sports Media Association poll. I'm going to go from 10 to 1. I'll go with number 10. Well, let's do the bottom 5. Let's each give our bottom 5 first. All right.
All right.
So I'll go number 10, Langston. Number 9, Virginia State. Number 8, West Virginia State. Number 7, Morehouse. Number 6, Kentucky State.
My bottom 5. Number 10, Tuskegee. Number 9, Fort Valley. Number 8, Kentucky State. I'm going up and down my list because I'll put them in alphabetical order. I'm trying to find my number 17. My number 6 was number 7 was Albany State, and number 6 was Fayetteville State.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we agree nowhere. I have you don't have West Virginia State, or Langston in yours, and I don't have Fort Valley, Tuskegee, and there was one other you said in there. All right.
Albany?
No, I've got Albany.
Okay.
Yeah, well, somebody in your bottom 3 there.
Let's see. Tuskegee, Fort Valley.
Nope.
Albany.
Yeah, I do.
Kentucky State.
I do have them.
And Fayetteville State.
I do have them. Okay. Well, then so let's see here. Let's see what your top 5 looks like, because I also had Morehouse at 7. You didn't have Morehouse in your bottom 5. No. So let's see. Here we go. My top 5, starting at 5. I've got Albany State at number 5. Number 4, I've got Fayetteville State at 4. 3, I've got Savannah State at 3, Miles at 2, and Bowie at 1. So,
all right.
What's yours look like? See what we agree and disagree on here in this top 5. Already, you Fayetteville.
Number 5, Virginia State.
Yeah, wow. You think that much? You think way higher of Virginia State than I do? Okay.
4, Savannah State.
Oh, okay. Wow. Who do you have 3? That's interesting.
3, West Virginia State.
Ooh, okay.
2, Miles, 1, Bowie.
All right, so 1 and 2 we agree on. You're a little higher on Virginia State and West Virginia State than I am. I think you have them both in your top 5, and I have them as 8 and 9 in mine.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest shocking difference between our two polls, our two rankings. or votes, I guess.
And that's why we go with computer rankings instead of you and I voting in the BCSN poll. That's why the BCSN went with computer rankings, because of the disparity that we have.
Yeah, that's one thing we got to tell people. When it gets the BCSN poll does not drop until the first weekend of October. So in this case, we're
gonna get 4 games in before we rank them.
Right. So actually,
some people may have 5 games if they play week 0.
Right. So after week 4 of the season is when we'll actually be able to drop the poll. That's when that'll happen. So that way we will have cleared a whole month of games in September, and I think we'll have some good metrics to use. So it's not necessarily a voting poll, which there are a lot of voting polls out there, and no disrespect to those voting polls. They're fun to do.
And we participate in them.
Yeah, we participate in them, but ours is just more of a ranking base. So, when we the numbers don't lie, and so
people do,
or they can. Yeah, as we've seen. No, as we've seen. All right, let's go to.
Let's go ahead. Let's tease out our top in the large schools as we go into break.
Well, I don't know how to tease it other than saying coming up after the break, we give you our top 10 in our Division I poll. So coming up after this break, stay tuned as we give you the top 10 on the D1 side. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap with Bryan and A.D. We'll be back right after these words.
It's showtime! Get ready for Cracker Barrel National Battle of the Bands! Presented by Pepsi Zero Sugar. Sunday, August 29th, 4 o'clock, NRG Stadium in Houston. Featuring the hottest HBCU marching bands. Southern University, Langston University, Tennessee State, Norfolk State, North Carolina A&T State, Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman, and Jackson State. Don't miss the battle on the field and the stands with scholarships. Over $500,000 in counting for our HBCUs. It's an HBCU experience you don't want to miss. With a weekend of activities with the Cracker Barrel Step and Stroll, Pepsi Zero Sugar Immersion Experience, Esports Masterclass and Gaming Tournament, and the free Pepsi Zero Sugar College and Health Fair. Tickets start at just $15. Get them right now at nationalbattleofthebands.com. It's the Cracker Barrel National Battle of the Bands. Sunday, August 29th, NRG Stadium, Houston. Gates open up at 2:30. Also sponsored by Cricket and HEB. nationalbattleofthebands.com. Get your tickets right now.
It's been difficult because I hadn't been able to see my grandchildren.
An expression on someone's face when you do something nice for them.
I miss all my friends in school.
Visit GetVaccineAnswers.org so you can make an informed decision about COVID-19 vaccine.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Texas Southern takes on Prairie View A&M for the Nick Durley Traveling Trophy and the Labor Day Classic on September 4th. Tickets available online at tsusports.com/LBC tickets.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for mental health and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org.
The HBCU football experience is back in Atlanta on August 28th. College Game Day, the Coca-Cola Fan Experience, the Battle of the Bands, the Cricket MEAC Swag Challenge will have it all. Visit MEACSwagChallenge.com for more information.
Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1. On Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1. All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. coming up here in the close of the show. We wanted to share with you our personal preseason top 10s, reminding you tomorrow night, catch season 2, the debut of Knights of the Round Table, a presentation of the HBCU Pro Sports Media Association. Our host right there, Mr. A.D. Drew, and the unveiling of the new top 10 major and mid-major poll in HBCU football, voting coming in from all various types of media that cover Black college athletics. So a nice diverse group of people voting on this poll. We're personally sharing our votes. So it definitely has some disagreements here. So let's go.
Wait a minute. Before you do that,
yeah.
Troy Lamont Coleman says, wait until you see QB1, no pun intended, from A&T.
You know what? I'm curious about who QB1 is. Who is QB1 at A&T? I'm very interested.
Akari Arnold says Fort Valley is underrated.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, hey, Drew, you think highly of that. Look, that we're going to find out real quick right at the beginning of the season in that Red Tails Classic on national TV. So Fort Valley's getting a chance to show up and show out right there from the get-go.
They can show up, just don't show out.
Well, right. That's what, you definitely don't want that to happen.
That's the Tuskegee coming out in me.
I got you. All right, here's our bottom 5 of our top 10. I'm going to start bottom 5. I've got number 10, Alabama State. Number 9, Norfolk State. Number 8, Jackson State. 7, Southern. 6, South Carolina State. Who's your bottom 5, Drew?
Number 10, Alabama State. Number 9, Central. Number 8, this will be a shocker to everybody, Alcorn.
Whoa. Wow.
Number 7, Pine Bluff.
Wow.
And number 6, Jackson State.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, interesting. Woo. Interesting because when you see my top 5, my top 5 for the D1 level, number 5 at UAPB, number 4 North Carolina A&T, number 3 FAMU, Florida A&M, number 2 Alcorn State, and number 1 Alabama A&M. Drew?
Number 5, my beloved Rattlers of FAMU. Number 4, Jaguars of Southern University. Number 3, Bulldogs of South Carolina State. Number 2 is Aggie Pride, which leaves my number 1 team as those Bulldogs from the other hill, Alabama A&M.
I think the only thing we agreed on was 1 and 10. Everything else, either you think less of some teams than I do, and vice versa. Like let's look at the Alcorn thing for a second. I've got them 2, you've got them 8. Okay, you want to ask me, or should I ask you? Why do you have them 8?
I'm going to continue to say it. They have some tough road games. I don't see them finishing higher than 3rd.
But what are you basing? Okay, but that brings me to, what are you basing your preseason on? You know, I'm just saying
I'm basing my preseason on where do I think you are going to finish based on strength of schedule, what you have coming back, et cetera, et cetera.
So you're not necessarily looking at them as a team and saying, this is a team that I think is on paper better than some other team right now.
No.
Okay. And that's good to know, because now that would make more sense to me about why, for example, you have, let me see, who else is a big contrast? I think that's the biggest one there. UAPB, I've got them at 5, you got 7. Jackson State, I've got 8, you got 6. For example, you don't have, Norfolk State 9, North Carolina Central 9, it is what it is. South Carolina State might be the second one where I've got them. You've got them ranked third. I've got them ranked sixth. But again, that's me starting the season saying this is where I think people are. And again, I'm going off of what I saw in the spring or the last time they played, comparative to people in the spring. And that's why I still think, 3 teams that didn't play, Alcorn, FAM, and A&T, are a step above, even on paper, UAPB, Southern, Jackson State, South Carolina State, teams that played in the spring. I still think they are that much better than those other 3 teams. So that's why I've got them ranked where I got them ranked. So any other comments regarding my top 10 versus yours?
No, that's like I say, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. You put Norfolk in. Why did you put Norfolk in?
I gave them the benefit of the returners, the veterans that they have coming back, veteran quarterback, and the coach with the pedigree that they have coming in.
I think that was the only one where we actually had two. The only team difference we had where I had one in versus you not having that team in. I think that was the only one. I had Central in, you had Norfolk in, but the other 9 teams, I believe we agreed on, it was just the order.
Right. Yeah. And, Southern over Jackson State, I went head to head, even though true, it's a new Jackson State squad, but I'm still giving credit to Southern saying they've got a veteran group coming back. And I think South Carolina State will be better than what they showed against Alabama A&M that one game they played. I think South Carolina State will have a good defense this upcoming year.
And Troy Lamont Coleman says blasphemous by both of us by putting A&T number 4 and number 2. He says they are clearly number 1, but that is a tough opening game that they have.
He said they're number 1. I mean, I don't know. Did I miss something? Did Box the Row rank them number 1 in his poll? I don't think, did he? If I missed it, I missed it. I don't
think they're number 1 in.
Were they number 1 on Dr. Cavill's poll?
No, Alabama A&M was.
So I don't know what's so.
Will they be number 1 in the HBCU Pro Sports Media poll? You're gonna have to tune in tomorrow night, right here, to find out.
Yeah. Hey, look, pay attention. And so, I mean, look, A&T, I think people still respect A&T and think they're worthy. Look, A&T is the only top 25 team in the, the Stat FCS poll, preseason poll. But we understand, that's kind of curious, I would say, because I think there's a little disrespect that they have towards the SWAC. And probably A&M probably should have been that ranked 25th team or should have been in the top 25, but we understand that the biggest thing.
I wonder if FAMU is still in the MEAC. Do they get ranked based on where they finished in the previous year? One of them going to the SWAC actually hurt them in this case.
Over not playing a full season?
Yeah, because you know how the BAC has been, of the HBCU conferences, the BAC has been the higher rated conference.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I just thought about that as you were making that argument. But that's something we could talk about tomorrow on the HBCU Pro Sports Media Nights at a Roundtable.
Yeah. That is interesting to see because A&M, both the A&Ms came in receiving votes in that poll. But, like I said, until A&T starts beating, or until more teams from the SWAC start beating other FCS schools, it's going to always be that national disrespect, or just that belief, I should say, that those other conferences are better. All right, that's going to do it for this show. Follow us, hit us up on social media. You had a chance to kind of digest at my BCSN1. You can hit us up personally at me. You can find me at DRB365. That's DRB365. Drew, find him at BCSN Drew. That's where you can find us personally. We'd appreciate if you went, again, download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app, MyJBN or MyBCSN, go in your Google or Apple Play Store. Follow, like, and subscribe wherever you watch and listen, and make sure you're a part of the BCSN Pod Zone if you're just one of those podcast people, and you can just catch all of this stuff, all of this goodness. So big day tomorrow. We begin the first full week heading into week 0. We just had our last Saturday without football. So everybody, let's get excited. Get your house in order, because it'll be football coming up on the weekends, and you can't run and hide. God bless. Let's make sure we all stay safe out there. Get a shot. Keep your mask up. Mask up. Be safe. Be smart. Look out for your neighbors, your fellow citizens. And, hey, we look forward to seeing you later in the week. We'll be live again next Sunday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. That's going to do it for this episode. Brian Fulford, A.D. Drew, you've been watching the BCSN Sports Wrap. Have a good night.
Holla.
But you stay hard.